Welcome back to the Explainer. Buckle up because today we are looking at an absolutely epic off-road showdown. We're talking a massive four-way vehicular tournament that is going to completely test the limits of horsepower, traction, driver skill, and, well, ultimately your wallet. This is a grueling gauntlet featuring some heavily modified overland-ready rigs, and only one of these machines can truly claim to be the king of the dirt.
And listen, right out of the gate, the competitive stakes here are sky high. I mean, these drivers didn't just bring their vehicles, they brought their egos. Take the Toyota driver. He came in absolutely certain of victory, literally saying he's going to be smug about it. There is a whole lot of pride on the line today. But as we'll see, off-roading has a really funny way of humbling even the most confident drivers when they least expect it.
So here is our gauntlet for the day. First, we'll meet the contenders. Second, the speed and agility tests. Third, traction and finesse challenges. Fourth, the final power climb. And finally, number 5, the value twist results.
Okay, let's dive into this. Number 1, meet the off-road contenders.
We are looking at a really wild variety of machinery today. We've got a heavily modified Jeep Wrangler, pretty much the gold standard for rock crawling. We've got an older but surprisingly powerful Volkswagen Touareg. Then there's the legendary Toyota Land Cruiser, packing a roaring V8. And rounding us out, the highly modern utilitarian Ineos Grenadier, complete with a roof tent and ladder. So 4 very different approaches to conquering the wilderness.
Now, how are we keeping score? It's incredibly straightforward. For each heat, the absolute fastest or most capable rig takes 4 points. Second gets 3, third gets 2, and the slowest gets 1. And if your rig gets stuck or completely breaks down, you get a fat 0. The highest total score at the end of the day takes the crown.
Moving to number 2, speed and agility tests.
So Heat 1 kicks off with an uphill drag race on super loose terrain, run bracket style. The V8 Land Cruiser confidently handles the Ineos, but the real shocker. Okay, picture this. The heavy favorite, the Jeep Wrangler, lines up against that older VW Touareg. And the Touareg absolutely flew up the hill. I mean, actually, scratch that, it completely demolished the Jeep. The sheer acceleration of the VW was absolute madness. Everyone was stunned as it instantly secured those first 4 points.
But hey, the Jeep wasn't down for long. Heat 2 was a timed sprint up a seriously muddy slope, weaving around trees, splashing through deep water, the whole shebang. The Ineos set a pretty slow benchmark at over 26 seconds, but the Jeep, it bounced back with a total vengeance, obliterating the course in just 22.2 seconds. The Land Cruiser was hot on its heels, while our drag race winner, the VW, really struggled with those tight, muddy turns and came in third.
Let's check the scoreboard after those 2 grueling speed rounds. Look at this. We have a massive 3-way tie for first place. The Jeep, Toyota, and VW are deadlocked at 6 points apiece. The Ineos is severely lagging behind with just 2 points. It is genuinely anyone's game right now as we pivot away from raw speed.
Which brings us to number 3, traction and finesse challenges.
Heat 3 demanded the drivers slowly crawl their vehicles up and over a really steep set of bumpy, staggered steps. This is a pure test of ground clearance and traction, and unfortunately for the Ineos Grenadier, it immediately ran into trouble. It suffered from being cross-axled. If you don't know, this is when one front wheel and the opposite rear wheel lose traction at the exact same time. The Grenadier's driver really struggled here because engaging the central differential lock actually disabled the car's traction control system. So the wheels were just spinning helplessly in the air, no forward momentum at all.
Now, contrast that absolute struggle with the Jeep Wrangler, utilizing its highly specialized modifications, like front and rear differential lockers and famously disconnecting its sway bar so the wheels can drop down and find grip. The Jeep conquered those jagged steps effortlessly. I mean, it had so much chassis articulation that it genuinely looked like it was just cruising down a paved highway. Just an absolute masterclass in technical off-roading. Next up was Heat 4, which was this incredibly technical rock crawl. Every vehicle managed to kind of scrape its way across, but the Jeep driver saw an opportunity to secure a commanding lead. He opted to take the most extreme, difficult route over the boulders. This was a huge gamble. He risked getting stuck and scoring 0 points. But man, the gamble paid off. The Jeep snagged a crucial bonus point for its daring line, while the VW Touareg ended up bottoming out really hard on the rocks, losing valuable points in the process.
So the really important takeaway here is the shifting dynamic on the leaderboard. The Jeep's pure technical supremacy has allowed it to completely pull away from the pack.
It is sitting comfortably at 15 points, a full 5 points ahead of both the VW and the Toyota. And the Ineos, well, despite clawing back a couple of points, is still stuck in last place.
All right, on to number 4, the final power climb.
This physical challenge was simple, but honestly, terrifying. Drivers had to launch their rigs up this steep, tight, slippery slope as fast as humanly possible, minimizing slip and impressing the judge at the top. The Land Cruiser took it nice and slow, but the VW Touareg? Wow. It charged up that hill with unmatched speed and this absolutely incredible engine roar, securing top marks. Meanwhile, the Ineos driver actually went into a near panic at the top, nearly sliding straight into a wall. But he still managed to snag second place just for sheer speed.
And this brings us to what appears to be the end of the tournament. The Jeep didn't win that final climb, but it scored enough to hold on to its lead. Looking at the board with 17 points, the Jeep Wrangler seems to have decisively won the off-road battle, proving that its heavily modified setup is simply unmatched in the dirt. The VW took a really respectable second, with the Toyota and Ineos trailing behind.
But wait, we have number 5, the value twist results. Because, in the real world, off-roading isn't just about how well a vehicle performs on the rocks or in the mud. It is also about how well it performs for your bank account. The big question is, does spending an absolute fortune actually guarantee a better experience? And here is the massive elephant in the room. When you put the Jeep Wrangler right next to the VW Touareg, the two rigs that largely dominated the physical challenges today, the contrast in what the owners actually spent to build these machines is completely staggering.
The Jeep Wrangler, loaded with its heavy-duty axles, differential lockers, and sway bar disconnects, sits at a whopping 60,000 pounds. I mean, that is a massive financial investment just to achieve that level of performance.
So, to level the playing field, a really harsh value penalty was introduced right at the finish line. And the rules are brutal. The most expensive rig gets a massive 4 points deducted from its final score. The second most expensive loses 3 points, the third loses 2, and the absolute cheapest vehicle to put together loses only a single point. Let's break that down. The 60,000-pound Jeep takes the maximum hit of -4 points. The 50,000-pound Ineos Grenadier loses 3. The 24,000-pound Toyota Land Cruiser drops 2. But the VW Touareg? The owner only had 15,000 pounds invested in that entire setup, meaning it suffers just a 1-point penalty. Which gives us our shocking final adjusted score. That massive penalty drops the Jeep down to 13 points, creating a dead-heat tie for first place with the 15,000-pound VW Touareg, and the highly expensive Ineos finishes dead last with just 7 points. It's an incredible result that really proves you don't necessarily need to drain your life savings to build a highly capable off-road monster. It leaves us with one provocative question. If a 15 grand used SUV can tie a 60 grand purpose-built crawler in the wild, are those ultra-expensive brand-name off-road modifications truly worth the money? Think about that next time you're browsing for a rig. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.